The video that you guys are about to watch is an interview that I did with my friend Seth. Seth is a software engineer. He is an entrepreneur and a philosopher. And today we talked about the company that he is building called Flow. Flow is an automated project planner of sorts. Seth is a very intelligent and driven young man. He's 26. Keep an eye out for him. There's people that you're going to meet in your life, and you can tell that they're going to be doing interesting and big things. Seth is one of them. It is going to be really, really interesting to see what this man does over the next 10, 15, 20 years, because I know it's going to be great and crazy. Stay tuned. Enjoy the video. See you later.
I started building PCs with my uncle when I was about 12. I remember we opened up a huge archaic tower. It was I think it was some old Dell or something. And we just took the case off, and he's like walking me through all the components and how they work in tandem with each other, and kind of just defining each one and the relationships they share. And to me, it just seemed like magic that this stuff worked at all, and it works so consistently. And it was so impressive that a human mind could come up with this and just make this new paradigm that humans would operate on indefinitely, it seems. I mean, I started with Swift, actually, Apple's language, when I was probably about 15. I saw someone build a really, really nice-looking augmented reality solar system, so I went and I replicated that. Followed some tutorials. It was pretty magic seeing these virtual objects exist in physical space. I had a whole solar system in my room, the planets where you could tap on them and they could tell you little facts about Jupiter, about Jupiter's moons, etc. And then from there I went into JavaScript, really got into web dev. Throughout school it was mainly Python and C++. So yeah, it's been a journey. But it's super interesting recognizing all of these existing patterns and how they've evolved and really just benefited developers' needs and society's progress. We designed Flow to be an intelligent project planner, like an automated Trello board. And we wanted to save developers time in the beginning with their projects. So as a software engineer, I found myself and my team wasting a ton of time just sitting down and thinking about how are we going to break up this project into little tasks, how are we going to organize these tasks, and also what stack are we going to use per task. So what Flow is, it's a place where a developer comes and sort of just describes to our AI assistant Ebb what they want to build, and then Flow splits up these tasks automatically and populates a Trello board in an instant. By using Flow, it really alleviates the mundane part of the process where you sit down and you think, well, I don't really know what to do first. I don't know how the sequence of events is going to occur, and I don't know which part of the tech stack I'm going to use per task. And if you have a team of multiple members, you can imagine that splitting up these tasks just increases exponentially. And you have to revisit this board every week to make sure you're hitting your deadlines. So for me, if I want to build a piece of software, I can immediately jump into just writing it because the plan is already written. We don't want to really say replace project managers right now. They're essential to the process. But I think a lot of things like scheduling meetings, making progress reports, coordinating among members of the team, these can all be taken off people's plates so they can focus on the exciting things like writing new features and planning ahead. So right now, if you take the most popular large language model tool, ChatGPT, it's a very one-shot, one-response exchange. With Flow, when you talk to our AI assistant Ebb, it's very much a conversation. It's like having a virtual coworker. It's a very much back and forth process that helps you flush out potential flaws in your thinking, and it really is like a back and forth in-person exchange. So I think this will just increase more and more as we progress. It's going to feel very natural. It's not going to feel like you're just shooting a query off into the void. It's going to be a very interpersonal experience. That's a big question in our industry right now. It's the question of, can these large language models scale as they are currently? And I think that there's a lot of room to improve on. But I think that large language models by themselves are not the path to AGI. I think that you need to have other structures that kind of work in tandem with large language models to really get there. So currently we're using GPT-4o. We're looking into Claude 3.5 and Llama 3. But some things we're looking to implement is a relevancy queue. So that would be identifying keywords that would be deemed worthy enough to be put into the long-term memory stack of Ebb. So anything salient, like if you keep repeating something in your conversation with Ebb, it will kind of notice, okay, this is valuable. Let's put this at the top of the stack, which is then fed into the large language model API. So there are a lot of features we're working on and that are in progress. And it's certainly not just a static large language model exchange. It is such a bottleneck to teams, and it's such an unfortunate detriment to engineering as a whole that we have to spend so much time starting from somewhere, searching for how are we going to plan this out, what technologies we're going to use, who on the team knows this. I think that can all be automated, and we already have this brilliant tool called large language models that have just compressed trillions and trillions of parameters. They know for the most part what technologies to use better than we do, because they've seen them all, because they've read them all. And I think that flow just gives an obvious edge to developers, and it's just such an obvious tool to use in 2024 when compared to something as basic and archaic as Trello. It's a relatively new field, but it's become so integral in our daily lives, in business, in military applications, in physics. It's hard to imagine society going forward without software. And I think a big question there is how much of developing software will we pass off to AI, and not just large language models, more developed agents that can take a project on as a whole and work as maybe a small team of agents interacting together. People are talking about moving toward visual programming again, which in the past has been kind of limiting. There's a programming language called Scratch, where you can kind of just drag and drop pieces of code, visual blocks of code, and you can make little things go, but you can never really dive deep into the code itself, which is going to give you a lot more options to build what you want. So people are discussing the idea of how much and how complex of a piece of software could you build by just talking to an AI, and the AI just takes your speech and translates that into code. There's progress on that front, and I think that's pretty exciting because it's going to make developing software a lot more accessible to people who maybe don't have a STEM background. Some years nothing happens, and some weeks decades happen. And I think OpenAI in 2022, when they finally hit ship on ChatGPT, they gave the public this tool that they knew was going to make a lot of money, but they didn't really know the positive or negative effects of this when you put it in the hands of a global population. So, yeah, we really have to be vigilant on the front of AI alignment and making sure that we never develop past what we cannot control. There's a lot of work being done on putting rules in place, checks and balances that make sure that these agents don't have too much access to where we cannot recall them and we cannot stop them. But I think AI, it's such a burning question because AI is not going to go away. You're not going to recall software. This will exist in both the closed and open source communities. Governments are going to have it. Governments do have it. So it's such an interesting subject because AI can really be applied to every single area and topic that you can think of. Whether that's going to be good or bad is up to the people and how they use it. But I think there is a burning need for a governing body and sort of a constitution around what is allowed and what is not allowed around AI. And what that looks like, I'm not sure, but we need to be focusing on this front a lot more because AI is really accelerating at sort of an alarming rate on that front. I think AI has the benefit of taking away some of these jobs, some of these boring and not very enriching jobs that we are forced to do today because we have no other option. And it has the potential to create new jobs that are much more exciting, much more enriching. But we do have to be careful that we are shifting our education system to match this sort of passing of the torch of some of these jobs to AI. Because currently it's kind of in a gray area where it's unknown if your degree will be valuable in the face of AI. So I think that there needs to be a reevaluation of education and what will be applicable in the near future and distant future, and kind of make sure that those two paths run parallel with each other in a way that they don't collide and millions are jobless because we didn't take the time to reassess what's valuable and what will be valuable. I work quite a lot, but to me it's not really work. I really like doing this stuff. I'm constantly thinking about this stuff. So yeah, I don't know if I could really quantify labor hours. You just have to keep what excites you in the forefront of your mind when you're approached with tasks that may not excite you in the moment. You kind of just have to realize that these boring tasks are essential to complete in order to reach the more exciting tasks. I think that helps me to escape burnout a lot of the time. I see myself running companies, working a lot with AI. There's so much opportunity in this space. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. I love the collaborative aspect of humans. When you're in a room, you have a whiteboard up, everyone's got ideas, you're moving toward one common shared goal. But it's so fun to see the path, how the path can kind of deviate, and you can make something much, much more beautiful with others as opposed to your confined ideas if it was just you as an individual operating on this task. Thanks for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.